Hey guys, it's Thermal Grease Monkey here, and I'm back once again with another video. In this video, I'm going to be testing another graphics card. As some of you may know, I have been testing the GTX 10 series a lot. I've still felt that they are a good and competent option for a lot of budget-minded gamers that, although NVIDIA ended driver support for them October of 2025, still have plenty of life left in them. Like I just mentioned, NVIDIA ending driver support in October of 2025, they also ended driver support for another family of graphics cards, not just Pascal, Maxwell. And Maxwell being the 9 series for the most part, including 750 Ti, 750, 745, the Maxwell line of graphics cards had the GTX 9 series, the 980 Ti, the 980, the 970, even the 960, but I decided to go with the most budget of the whole 9 series, the 950. And I picked myself up this Gigabyte WindForce Extreme graphics card, 8-pin power connector, and probably one of the more beefy 950s that was ever made. And I decided to pair it with an i5 9400F and 16 gigs of 2666 memory for the best possible chance for this graphics card to stretch its legs. And I put it with 3 games. Forza Horizon 5, so we could test out racing titles, CS2, so we could test out competitive shooters, and Marvel Rivals, so we could test out the PvP hero genre. Without further ado, we'll start with Forza Horizon 5. 1080p, Extreme or Ultra 8X MSA, there's not really a point. We're getting 14 to 15 FPS for the averages, 10 to 11 FPS for the 1% lows. A slideshow. At high with 4X MSA, we do get a performance of up 27 for the averages, 21 for the 1% lows, but I wouldn't really say playable. At medium with 2X MSA, we're averaging 36 FPS with 29 for the 1% lows. And although we are getting about 30 FPS most of the time, not fantastic. At low with MSA turned off, we're averaging 45 FPS with 36 for the 1% lows. And at very low, we're averaging 61 with 44 for the 1% lows. So even at very low 1080p, we can't get an 60 plus FPS experience all of the time. Now, in fairness to the 950, it has 2 gigs of GDDR5 VRAM. And Forza Horizon 5 asks for a graphics card with at least 3 gigs of VRAM, so I am surprised the 950 is doing as well as it is. I do suspect if you turn down the resolution to say 1600 by 900 or 1280 by 720, that the GTX 950 here could get itself a 60 plus FPS experience, albeit at the very lowest graphics settings, but it is possible. Moving over to our second game, CS2. And for CS2, I kind of wanted to test a more performance-oriented thing. After testing Forza Horizon 5, I realized there's no point in testing very high, medium. I just put it at its absolute lowest. Not even just low. Performance is what I would say. Just turning everything down as low as I possibly could. And at 1080p, it surprised me. 148 FPS for averages and 94 FPS for the 1% lows. A very smooth gaming experience. I wouldn't say it's for people that are highly competitive, but if you're on a budget and you just need a graphics card to throw in there and you're just trying to play CS2 or Valorant or Rainbow Six, this card is very capable of that. It's shown it can give some solid performance. And for our third and final game I tested, Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals, 1080p, FSR3 performance, everything I could possibly give it. The lowest graphic settings at 1080p, we could not average over 30 FPS. But once I turned it down to 720p, we were getting between 30 to 45 FPS most of the time. I didn't really benchmark it or test it to get specific numbers. I just wanted to play it and just get an idea what is the experience like. And it's playable, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily enjoyable. If you're competitive and you need that fast-paced 60 plus FPS all of the time, this is not the card for that. No matter what, it won't be able to play. If you just want to get on and play, though, and just have it an experience and try it out, I mean, the 950 will let you do that, but it is definitely hampering the experience to some extent. So overall, would I say the GTX 950 is a fantastic card? I mean, for a card that's like 20 to 30 bucks on most sites, whether you're going eBay, Facebook Marketplace, I mean, OfferUp, Mercari, Craigslist, any place I look, these cards are like dirt cheap. It came out in 2015, at the beginning of 2015, and it was budget at the time. The 2 gigs of VRAM is very limiting, and a lot of like newer racing games, for example, it's going to struggle with. Forza Horizon 5 is one of the more optimized popular racing games that are out there right now, and it struggles with that. Forza Horizon 4, though, if you're playing some older racing game stuff, something like that, this card can totally handle a game like that. For a competitive shooter, something like Rainbow Six, you could get a 60 plus FPS experience, 1080p, lowest graphics settings on a GTX 950. And for CS2, Valorant, you can get a pretty much 100 plus FPS all the time at the lowest graphics settings, 1080p, but you can have a competitive gaming experience on CS2, Valorant, stuff like that. If that's what you're into, it doesn't take much to run those games. The 950 can handle it. And so I would say for something like that, it can totally make sense. And as far as it goes for the hero shooters, Marvel Rivals, probably not, right? Unless you're really desperate and you're willing to do 720p in the lowest settings and not even getting a 60 FPS experience. But Overwatch, right? 720p, lowest graphics settings, you could definitely play on the GTX 950. And 1080p, I don't know if you could quite hit 60 FPS, but Overwatch is a lighter to run, a bit more optimized than Marvel Rivals title. So the 950 could have a chance on Overwatch 2 than Marvel Rivals. So overall, what I say, this is a great card. If you're on a super tight budget, if you have an old computer, the graphics card died, you just need something to throw in there, hold it over, right? You're playing lighter games. You're playing Rainbow Six and CS2 and Valorant, competitive shooters, stuff like that. Yeah, if you're playing older racing games, Forza Horizon 4, like I said, fantastic option. Overwatch 2, sure, it can play that. If you play something, old AAA stuff, you're playing older games, stuff like Terraria, playing Skyrim, yes. Even, say, something like Sea of Thieves, something a little bit more different. Sea of Thieves, Dead by Daylight, stuff like that. That's a lot easier to run. This card at 1080p at low graphic settings, you can get 60 plus FPS experiences on games like Sea of Thieves, Dead by Daylight, stuff like that. And even though most of these cards come with 6 and 8 pin power connectors, if you can't get a power supply with your system that can power this, you don't have a 6-pin power connector. They do have the 75 watt version of this card, albeit you do lose some performance. And at that point, I would probably go with the GTX 1050 because it gets nearly the same performance as the 950 does, but being much more power efficient and not needing a 6-pin power connector pretty much on any model except like the highest end ones. So overall, I would say it is a certain use case, and it depends a little bit more on like what you have in your area, what the market is like, and what you can get your hands on. But the 950 is not a terrible option. So overall, though, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys liked the video, please hit that like button. If you didn't, feel free to the dislike button. Totally understand. If you guys are enjoying my content, if you guys could hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you know when my videos are going live. And again, if you guys can give me some ideas for hardware that you guys want tested. I mentioned earlier some of the graphics cards like the GTX 750 Ti, 750, 745 could be some interesting cards, as well as the GTX 6 and 7 series could be some interesting ones as well. Maybe some of the R9 cards from AMD. Just let me know what you guys want to see as far as budget options go. And I will see all of you guys next week. Later, guys.